Hey guys, welcome back. Yeah, I found this in the garbage. I was driving down the road, I think it hit the grocery store, I don't remember what I was doing. It was raining out, this has been a month or better ago now. And this was sitting alongside the curb with a sign on it that said, works great, needs a new pull start, electric start, works fine, free. So, I got it loaded up and brought it home. This is the first time I've actually looked at it. I did, the pull cord was in and I did pull it out. It felt like there was compression, but I didn't have it on or anything, so it didn't spark. I haven't checked the gas, I haven't checked the oil, so let's go ahead and get started and do some of that before we try to start. I figured worst case scenario, I'll take it and throw it on the junk pile at the farm and it can be recycled and scrap metal. My brother-in-law is a plumber, and when he takes stuff out, he hauls it to the farm and stockpiles it and then sorts it out and sells it later. So I can just throw it on the scrap pile if it doesn't work. I'm really not out anything. Trace amount of gas in there. The debate is, if this runs well, do I keep this one because it's a little smaller than the Craftsman I have and sell the Craftsman, or do I sell this thing? If this thing runs really well, I could sell the Craftsman because it's bigger, and we don't use it as much because I have that John Deere rider. And the Craftsman's worth more. So, I don't have that much in that. I bought that from a neighbor for $50 and I've got $60 or $70 in parts in it. I really don't like the design of the Craftsman at all. If you don't, on the Craftsman, if you don't on the Craftsman, if you don't grease the shaft, the tiller shaft in the front, it freezes up. My neighbor had it fixed by a Craftsman repairman once, and it froze up and stripped all the gears out. It did it originally, it did it after it was fixed. Well, the guy did a crap job fixing it. He didn't get all the rust off the shaft, so it seized up on him very fast. He didn't tell him he needs to grease it after every use, or at least every other use. Otherwise, you'll rust up and seize and tear your gears out. And I'm sure it was $150 or $200 to fix because the parts were $60 or $70, and you have to take the whole front half off to fix those gears. So it's not a good design. Grease zerks are in terrible spots. It doesn't get the whole shaft. So that's the problem there. Well, before I get too far into this, we're going to see if if the sign was accurate, if it'll start. I'm going to put gas in it. These usually come with a cord. Of course, there wasn't one out there with it. Generally, any heavy extension cord will work. I would say it runs. So, it took a while to warm up. When I turned the choke all the way off is when I killed those couple of times. And it still, at the very end, kind of wanted to die out. They have relatively new skid plates on there. These are relatively new based on the lack of rust that's on them compared to the bolts. You know, this is flaking off. I could sandblast it and paint it if I wanted, but I don't know. I kind of like that this is a little smaller. It's a relatively new scraper plate, so they replaced that at the same time. I might keep this one and sell it at Craftsman. Okay, the problem appeared to be this prong here wasn't in place. It was flat up under this ridge. It came out of place. It's supposed to be in like this. These are what grab the spindle on the back of the motor to turn it when you pull start it. They catch and then you pull, and then when it goes back in, those go flat and it goes backwards. So I don't know if the previous owner, say that previous owner, like I bought this. I picked it up out of the trash, so I'm the new owner. I don't know if the previous owner tried to get that back in place or just it didn't work anymore, so yeah, I don't know. I'm a little leery to try it because if that comes off and inside the flywheel, it could end up causing damage because there really isn't any spring back on that like there should be, like this one has. We'll put it on. It doesn't need to pull start it. We have the electric start. So this is the Craftsman. I mean, it's a 9 horsepower instead of a 5 horsepower. It's 29 inch instead of 22 inch. The electric start cranks on this, but it doesn't ever start the motor, so you have to pull start it. But it pull starts easy, so that's not a big deal. This sheath is broken here. This chute is plastic and it's broken there, so it wobbles and it doesn't. This comes loose and doesn't stay the right direction. It drives me crazy. I like that it's 9 horsepower and 29 inch, but you know, when that John Deere Rider's running fine, I don't even need this. So this shaft, there's a shaft that runs through this housing, this auger housing. It's got shear pins. And then there's greaser there and there. Well, there's nothing down here. You put grease in here and it comes out at the shear pin. It doesn't even get to the end, and it certainly doesn't get to this end because there's a shear pin here. And just like anything else, when you apply pressure, it finds the quickest way out. Water, whatever, grease, and it comes here. It doesn't make its way down the shaft, which causes it to seize, tearing the gears up inside. So you gotta hand put grease on here to try to keep moisture out. And when it warms up, I'm sure the grease moves around a little bit, but that doesn't mean water isn't coming in from this side. You gotta try and get it here, here, and and down at that end. And you really want to do it every time you snowblow. So you got to come in, thaw it out, and then grease it. And if you're keeping this in a cold shed or covered outside, it's never going to thaw out the grease. I mean, I have it in a heated garage so I can thaw it out, but it's a horrible design. Horrible. I've had Walmart brand, Menards brand snowblowers that are better designed than this. And this is Craftsman. It's supposed to be, high quality. Enough said. Well, I made a decision. I sold the Craftsman, $350. It cost me about $80 to fix it. I think while I owned it, I ordered a new scraper blade for it. 12, $15, $20 most for that. So $100. I paid $50 for it from my neighbor, so I have $150 into that snowblower, and I sold it for $350. And I used it for probably 5 years, maybe 6. So that's all right. I did okay there. I decided to keep this one because it's smaller. I got the John Deere running, so it starts every time that I need it to now. So I was pretty comfortable getting rid of the Craftsman. So the next part of taking care of this thing, when I did some research, and I found out that this was sold at Kmart stores, and this model is from 1997. So I'm curious how well it's going to throw snow, if it'll really keep it out there. The sign on this, if you remember, said when I got it off the side of the road that it started fine with electric start and heated and full start. So the starter recoil cord assembly kit, I researched, it's $58. Well, if you tell them that's a little steep, or that's more than I want to spend, I'll take 10% off. So it's down to $52 roughly before tax, and I don't even know what shipping would have been. And I thought, for a machine that is 22 years old and I'm not sure how well it's going to throw, I really didn't want to throw 50, 60 bucks, 70 bucks into it to replace something that I really don't need to start. So I'm not gonna, I didn't order that part. So let's get started and I'll show you how we're gonna change the oil quick. All right, come, look closer, we're over here. To change the oil, all we do is take this plug off. I'm gonna prop the front up by putting this piece of 2x4 under the front chip of the snowblower. I'm gonna use this to drain into this pan. Otherwise, you have a heck of a mess and it runs down the back. So. We're just going to let this drain until it stops. Since I don't have the manual on this, I'm sure I could look it up and find it. But in the same amount of time, I know that it was full when I checked the oil. So I'm just going to measure this oil that comes out of here. And then we'll have a rough idea how much it's going to take to refill this. It's going to take a while, it's cold. Okay, so that's 2 1/3 cups roughly. So we got an idea where to start. Now we're just going to let this drain. I save this oil and I use it for quenching metal when I do forge stuff. If you watched one of the taxidermy, I think the Coyote for taxidermy video, you see me out there with my homemade setup, forging a piece for that. All right, I've got, I put in 2 1/2 cups instead of 2 2/3, because after I checked it, it was still a little low, and we are now just under the fill line. I don't know, not even a 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little over an 1/8. So, or not the fill line, the full line. So we're in the safe zone. I don't like pushing that limit if I don't have to, so we're going to leave that there. We'll start it, let it run for just long enough to get it oil through the entire engine, then we'll shut it off and check it again. Really wouldn't expect it to change too much. This engine's not that big. All right, just top that off with a touch more. And we're about an 1/8 under the full line, so we're gonna leave it there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the next video. I think this baby's ready to go for snow.